Hi, this is Eric Bjornstedt from Bell Performance here to talk to you a little bit about the issues of cold flow and cold weather diesel treatment this winter. Now, you might say, hey, it's the middle of summer. Why do we have to consider, why are we talking about cold flow improvers for diesel fuel? Well, simply put, this is the time of year when businesses and entities that use diesel fuel and that do business in cold weather areas, this is the time of year where they really start to plan, where they start to gather information on their options before making the decisions on what cold flow treatment they're going to use this year. That kind of problem, if it's something that they have to deal with every year, this is the time to do that planning and make those kinds of decisions. And so that's why we're talking to you today. Now, when you're talking about ultra low sulfur diesel fuel that became the law of the land around 2006 to 2008, a big concern with ultra low sulfur diesel fuels was its performance in cold weather. People within the industry knew that heavy processing of the fuel in order to get out that sulfur content, well, it was going to change the characteristics of that fuel that were not in ways that were not inconsequential. Now, in the olden days, when you had high sulfur diesel and also low sulfur diesel, those diesel fuels had a high aromatic content. Aromatics are these kind of cyclical kind of molecules that are a natural component of petroleum and of gasoline and diesel fuels. They occur naturally in those fuels, and aromatics, they perform certain functions normally in fuel. They burn with the fuel and help provide energy content. But one of the important things they do when you're talking about cold weather performance is that aromatics help to act as dispersants. These cyclical molecules, they actually would help keep the paraffin wax crystals apart as they came out of solution. They keep them apart, they keep them from coming together and sticking together and growing larger and larger. In short, they were a natural characteristic or component of the fuel that helped protect it and provide cold weather handling benefit. Essentially, they helped the fuel be able to go down to lower temperatures before they would experience gelling problems. So fast forward to the present, and so today we obviously have ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, and the situation is a whole lot different. When they process the fuel to get all of that sulfur out and get the sulfur content down to 15 ppm, unfortunately a lot of those aromatic components have been destroyed by that processing. And so for cold flow and for cold weather performance, what this means is that ultra low sulfur diesel fuels, they tend to do this at higher temperatures. They gel at significantly higher temperatures than they did before. And what that means is that cold flow improver treatments that used to work well in those higher sulfur diesel fuels do not work nearly as well. Now, what that also implies is that if you want the best protection this year, you need to have a cold flow improver that is optimized to work well in ultra low sulfur diesel. You might ask the question, well, how much benefit will I get? What's the expected drop that I should be able to get? Well, many ultra low sulfur diesel fuels, if they don't have any additive in them, you can expect them to gel at temperatures around maybe 7, 8, 9, or 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, to the average person, that may seem pretty cold, but for businesses and for entities that are trying to execute essential functions in the winter, that's really not satisfactory. There's really too much risk involved if you're talking about will the temperature of the air get down to 8 degrees Fahrenheit, because if it does, then your school bus fleet may be shut down on the side of the road, and that's going to be pretty disastrous. So it's not really an option for these entities not to use a cold flow treatment. Now, if they get the right one and they treat their fuel, how much protection can they expect? Well, a good cold flow improver treatment should be expected to provide about 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit in extra protection. That means If a school bus fleet used diesel fuel that normally gelled at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, they should be able to expect it to get down to minus 10 or minus 13, something like that. And that's typically going to be plenty enough protection to be able to help these businesses get through the winter without having any problems. So now is the time to think about the right cold flow treatment for your use this winter. And if that's something that you normally have to think about, well, then we would love to talk to you and show you why Cold Flow Improver from Bell Performance is exactly what you need. So please give us a call at 407-831-5021, or if you like, drop us an email at info@bellperformance.net or .com, and let us make the case to you why Cold Flow Improver from Bell Performance is going to be exactly what you need this winter.